Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday, so make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification button to tune in every single day where we educate you on what's going on in crypto. Now today we're going to go second time lucky. For those that didn't know, we did have another stream running there, but there was a bit of a technical issue, but we've got a new stream up here. Hopefully this one runs a little bit smoother. Hello everybody in the live chat, thank you very much for swapping over today. We've got a lot of news to discuss today. I want to be talking about the supply shock that is coming for Bitcoin within 2024. I want to talk about those Ethereum ETFs and what that means for the markets. I want to take a look at what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news today, so make sure to engage with today's stream as much as possible as always and help us grow the channel as big as possible in 2024. Let's see what's going on this morning. Let's see the streams all running smoothly. Looks all good there. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So we've got Bitcoin's price currently at $43,000. Now this is up 0.9% in the last 24 hours, and Ethereum hasn't really moved in the last 24 hours. We're looking at $2,540 there. If we take a look at what's going on with the biggest gainers today, we've got Chili's up almost 20%, Clay up almost 19%, so really nice moves for those two projects there. In terms of biggest losers, we've got Chainlink down 3.3% there. Tezos very similar. If we take a look at what's been going on with Chainlink so far, it's seen a nice rally to the upside here. It did have a huge level of resistance, which it was under for 530 days or something like this, and it managed to eventually break to the upside, and now we're seeing some volatility in this range, creating some nice levels of support and resistance, so it is really nice to see. Let's take a look at what's going on in the price of Bitcoin in a little bit more detail this morning though. So if we go over to the Bitcoin chart, we can see here, let's pull all of these things off, we don't need any of these things. What you can see here is, in fact, let's delete it all and start again. Reset price scale. Here we go. On the daily chart, Bitcoin's up today. If we take a look at what's been happening here, we are within this range once again, which we've been in for a very long time. We've created some strong levels of support and resistance in this range, and I'm wondering to see what's going to really happen next. Now, there are a few options here. You can see we have some key levels of horizontal support. If we pull these up here, we've obviously just made one recently around here. You can see this whole range between these 2 points is a zone of resistance. So between $42,000 and $41,220. This has been used as a level of support 4 times now. So it is a crucial level, but we also have some key levels of resistance, which clearly do not want to be broken right now. We're looking at between the range of $44,000 to around that $44,700 is the first key range. In fact, we could make this one thinner and have a separate one here and have a separate one here. That's what we're looking at on the daily chart. Now that looks a little bit messy. Maybe we should have been better drawing these with rectangles. You can see this is the zone there, and then let's delete these, and this is the zone there. So these are the key levels that I'm looking at in the charts right now. Oh, I've just deleted that one. There we go. The key levels that I'm looking at in the charts right now on the daily chart, you can see this is a major level of support, so it's really nice to see this is still holding, and we've got a major level of resistance there. So we'll see if we can continue to move to the upside with this bullish momentum and push through that. But if we take a look, have a closer look at some smaller time frames, you can see we really have been retesting that lower level of support. Now, if we go to the 4-hour chart and we pull these trend lines across, let's see where we are at. So let's pull this across. So first of all, I would be looking at this point here. Now, this was a crucial level and this wasn't held, but we are back on top of it now. We were supporting it at the price with this level for a period of time, and then we crashed down below it. Now we have once again used this as a level of support. This has weakened because of the most recent price action, so I'm not looking too closely at that anymore. In terms of what I am looking at closely, I want to find some levels of support here which we can still stand with. So if we take these two wicks here, you can see the wick here. Let's pull that back there. So the wick there and the wick there lines up nicely with these two pullbacks we've seen here. So this to me is still seen as a level of support that we should be paying close attention to. Currently that's at that $41,780 level, and it's within that whole zone, so it can stay strong. And hopefully it continues to do so, and hopefully we do get a nice bounce up to that level of resistance, which is between $44,000 to $44,230. If we get a nice retest of that, I will be very happy with how the price movement is going. We are seeing some sort of consolidation at this point in time, and as I mentioned in yesterday's stream, I don't think it would be too shocking if we were to see some sideways action at this point in time. We are now 4 months away from that Bitcoin halving, which comes in April 22nd, I believe at the moment is the prediction there. And with that, we are going to see the rate that Bitcoin's supply increases half. So we're going to have the Bitcoin block rewards half from 6.25 to 3.125. So when we see that the amount of Bitcoin that's being added into circulation is declining, we do typically see a kind of supply shock, and Bitcoin typically does have a bull market following a Bitcoin halving. So if we take a look at when that is, we're looking at April 22nd. Where's the dates gone? Let's try that again. April 20. Why is this going off the chart? Okay, we'll put it at the latest we can. It's around here anyway. So when we're looking at what's been happening and what happens typically prior to a Bitcoin halving, typically during the month of a Bitcoin halving, it's not too bullish. So I think we could see some sort of downwards action in April. But up until then, there are multiple options here. There is possibility that we will see some sort of pullback. We've not had a pullback in a while. And I think seeing a pullback to $33,000 closing in on that liquidity that we were talking about yesterday wouldn't be super unhealthy for the Bitcoin price. In fact, I think it would be pretty healthy. Do I think it's likely? I think it's a possibility. I think the most likely scenario for me right now at this point in time is some sideways action. Now, we've all been accustomed to sideways action if we've been here during the bear market. It's not nice. It's not pleasant. Traders just constantly get wicked out, and we don't really see any nice price movements that we do like to see. But, however, hopefully we do see some sideways action and we create some strong levels of support and resistance, and then we get to see some nice bullish momentum following that Bitcoin halving. Let's see what's going on here. Monkey Nuts has just put his first ever super comment on the live stream. Thank you very much, Monkey Nuts, for that donation. We very much appreciate it. We don't talk about it too much on the channel because I don't want to beg for donations, but we do love when a donation comes through the door. Monkey Nuts, you tune in every single day, so thank you very much for that donation. That very much appreciate it, and thank you for tuning in every day. If you have any questions, drop them into the chat and we'll have a read through that at the end of today's stream. What we've got here is I was feeling guilty for the Holly thing. What's the Holly thing? Let's see what's going on in the news here, and then we'll go back to the Bitcoin chart and take a look at what's been happening, if anything happens throughout the stream. In terms of the 15-minute chart, we are in an uptrend when it comes to the shorter time frames there. Will it hold? Will it not? Bitcoin's bullish for the day. I mean, that's a pretty nice uptrend there on the half-hour chart. We are seeing higher highs, higher lows, a lot of bullish momentum there. In fact, before we move on, let's take a look at the RSI and the MACD. If we pull these up here, it's useful to use indicators like this when you're trading. I wouldn't solely rely on them, but they are good to kind of create some confidence in your trades. If we take a look here, the RSI is pretty neutral, even on the half-hour chart there. On the 1 hour chart, the 2 hour chart, the 4 hour chart, it's looking pretty neutral here, so not majorly oversold, not majorly overbought. If we take a look at what's going on with the MACD in terms of the 4 hour chart, bullish momentum seems to be growing. In the 2 hour chart, we're looking the same. 1 hour chart, we're looking the same. Half-hour chart, we're looking the same. So it's not too bad there. We are seeing some bullish momentum increasing, and we're not seeing super overbought levels. So those indicators are showing that it could be bullish what's coming in for the rest of the day, and fingers crossed it is. Let's take a look at what's going on in the news here. First of all, I want to address this supply shock that we were discussing in yesterday's stream. So this analyst has forecast that Bitcoin could go up to $1 million within days or weeks once this supply crunch hits. And I think this is really, really important to discuss. So there are major factors that are coming up that could affect the price of Bitcoin very, very quickly and very dramatically. What we've got is that Bitcoin halving, which I just said means that we are going to see the block reward half in April. And that means that the amount of Bitcoin that gets added to circulation every 10 minutes drops from 6.25 to 3.125. And with that, when the rate of supply increasing declines, that can help create a supply shock. When a supply shock happens, the price typically increases massively. If you look at supply and demand, if supply is the same and demand is increasing, the price will go up. If supply is increasing but at a slower rate than the demand is increasing, then the price will go up again. Now, obviously, we're seeing that supply decrease. So we're seeing a slower rate of inflation when it comes to Bitcoin following this Bitcoin halving. And we are seeing demand increasing because of these spot Bitcoin ETFs. Yesterday, we reported that 11,500 Bitcoin had been accumulated by BlackRock to fund their ETF in just one day. And we may see this continue. What we need to see is when people are investing in these spot Bitcoin ETFs, the issuers need to back up their ETF with actual Bitcoin. So that's scooping up a huge amount of Bitcoin that's in circulation and removing them and putting them into cold storage. Now, we've been seeing a trend over the last couple of months already where the amount of available Bitcoin on exchanges is decreasing dramatically, and it has been for a number of years now. As this continues, what we're going to see there is a supply shock. If Bitcoin isn't readily available on exchanges and there's less Bitcoin there, if the demand even stays the same, the value increases because the less Bitcoin available, the more people are willing to pay for it. That's just how it works when it comes to supply and demand. And as we see these things change in the next couple of months, Bitcoin could see something huge in 2024 with all of these factors coming together. I don't know how anybody feels bearish on this asset. It's a super bullish asset. We've got massive companies like BlackRock now marketing Bitcoin. We're seeing Bitcoin being named on their homepages for massive companies like Fidelity and VanEck, and we're seeing a supply shock possibly just around the corner. So I want to highlight here the importance of this and the changes that we could be seeing in 2024. So please don't forget, before we continue with today's stream, to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday, so please don't forget to tune in. Let's take a look at what's going on here. I don't know who this person is that you're talking about in the chat. I can't get, I need to read through all of the chat. It's too long. I'll have to do it at the end of today's stream. Apologies. Let's take a look at what else is going on in today's news. TUSD's supply hits low as stablecoin struggles to maintain the $1 peg. So TUSD instability prompts massive sell-off on various trading platforms. We all know that when fear hits the markets and people choose to sell off assets like this, it can just make things 10 times worse. And when there's news reports of these and problems like this, a lot of people just want to get out as quickly as possible. So TUSD looking like it's in a little bit of danger. So the supply hits low as stablecoin struggles to maintain its peg. Is this off the back? I was reading yesterday about an asset who has there was concerns around their reserves. Is this the same asset? Let's take a look at this. Binance data shows that 60% of the cash flow around TUSD has gone to the asset sales. TUSD saw sell orders exceeding $450 million against $296 million in buy orders. This leaves a deficit of around $155 million. Observers have suggested the absence of TUSD mining in Binance's latest launch pool contributes to the sales. TUSD's curve pool further shows it is heavily imbalanced as of press time, with crypto traders showing preference for Tether's USDT, Circle's USDC, and DAI. So that's what we've been seeing here. Some concerns around that. If you are a TUSD holder, I would recommend reading through these articles and being cautious. As I always say with these kind of things, I'd rather kind of be the scaredy cat that jumps out quickly than be the one that's left holding. When it came to UST, we all were punished for investing in that and trying to get those 20% rewards. When it came to FTX, those that didn't act quickly unfortunately lost access to their assets. We've seen this over and over again, and I would rather be overcautious than kind of just have my fingers crossed and hope there's no problems there. I tried to diversify as much as possible. I tried to hold stablecoins as little as possible, to be honest. I don't think there's any problems with stablecoins, in my opinion, like USDT, USDC, the biggest stablecoins, to me, seem to be the best stablecoins to hold. They try and prove their proof of reserves as much as possible. USDC's issuer Circle is trying to launch as a public company. All of these kinds of things that are putting them at the top, and all of these things that for example, not just putting them at the top, like trying to be liquid now, showing like how long these tokens have been along really gives me a sense of security when it comes to USDT and USDC and DAI as well. And with some other stable coins, we can't exactly say that. We can't say that we've seen their reserves over a long period of time. Yes, there's been FUD over USDT throughout the years, but I personally believe with the proof of reserves that now occur with the longevity of the company, it's one of the stable coins that I prefer to hold. But overall, I'd prefer to not hold any stable coins. I prefer to hold Bitcoin for the long term, investing in Bitcoin every time I can. Stable coins and nothing. I like to use them to transfer from one to the other, but nothing else. And to trade with, that's good. But I try not to touch them as much as possible. Let's take a look at what else is going on here in the news. So short-term holders drive Bitcoin's post-ETF volatility. So although we didn't see that massive move to the upside following the ETF's launch, we have seen some volatility in the markets, and it seems that short-term holders are the reason for this. So traders trying to get involved in the markets, trying to buy and sell and make some profits here. I think a lot of people were expecting to see a huge amount of profits in the markets after those ETFs launched, and we did not see that. So some traders may be trying to make up those gains elsewhere by swing trading these opportunities now. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here. So identifying potential ETF wallet addresses as Coinbase leads weekly Bitcoin trading with $11.4 billion volume. So Coinbase's primes trading surge linked to ETF market activity with over $5 billion in Bitcoin wallet inflows and outflows within a week. Now, a lot of people have been trying to identify which wallets belong to who, what wallet belongs to BlackRock, so we can kind of trace their transactions and watch them buy and sell Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people will be keeping a close eye on those wallets in the next couple of months. Let's move on to the next story here and see what's going on. So Morgan Stanley believes Bitcoin CBDCs have the potential to de-dollarize the world. So Morgan Stanley said the dollar's global dominance is threatened by the rise of Bitcoin and the eventual proliferation of CBDCs. So we've spoke about CBDCs a lot here in the channel in the past, not so much as of late, but CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, they're essentially cryptocurrencies, currencies stored on a blockchain that the government control. Now, just because it's on a blockchain doesn't mean it's decentralized. You can have a centralized blockchain, and you can use centralized blockchains to limit how people can spend their money. There are a lot of concerns when it comes to CBDCs that the governments would put a lot of kind of limitations on what you can do with your money, maybe putting limits on how long your money lasts, expiration dates on your money, or limits on how much money you can spend on certain things. Like we could have limitations to make sure that we're not contributing to global warming as much, so more significantly than the person next to us. We could have some limitations put in place there. A load of different things have been discussed about the cons of CBDCs. There are pros as well if it comes to CBDCs, and people and the government needs to teach people how to use a blockchain. I don't want to say it, but that would be a huge life lesson for people that want to get into Bitcoin. So CBDCs have their pros and cons. What we can see here is dollars slipping dominance. So despite the US contributing about 25% of global GDP, the dollar constitutes nearly 60% of global foreign exchange reserves. However, this dominance is now under scrutiny, partly due to the US's growing twin deficits and strategic economic sanctions, prompting nations to seek dollar alternatives. Now, we've already seen some countries swapping away from the dollar when it comes to transactions with other countries within the last year. We've seen this quite a few times, in fact, and there are some concerns about the dollar losing its dominance. Now, the question is, what would take its place? Now, there's other countries that are trying to fight and push their currencies forward and try and take leadership here. But CBDCs and digital currencies do have the opportunity here to impact what's been going on here and really slide in there when nobody was expecting and win that opportunity here. So it would be pretty interesting if this were to happen and Bitcoin were to kind of rise above all of this, and we have Bitcoin as the kind of world's reserve currency. We wouldn't necessarily transact with Bitcoin every day, but it would be backing our currency, just like we saw gold in the olden days. All of these kind of conversation topics are really interesting. I think we're still quite a way away from this, but I think it's something that would happen slowly and then all at once. So who knows? But interesting comments there from Morgan Stanley. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the next article here. So why ETFs are not having positive effects on Bitcoin's price yet. So This article says it's time to hodl now more than ever. A supply crunch is coming if ETFs can't continue to get Bitcoin on the chain. So let's take a look at this. Despite the influx of substantial capital into the new spot Bitcoin ETFs, with CoinShares reporting $1.18 billion in inflows in digital assets ETFs globally last week, the expected positive impact on Bitcoin's price hasn't materialized. This raises questions about the underlying mechanics of these ETFs and their influence on Bitcoin's value. Let's first ensure we correctly frame the situation. The recent price run-up picked up steam when BlackRock announced their filing for the spot Bitcoin ETF on June 15th. Now you can see we've had a massive move to the upside here, but now these ETFs have been accepted by the SEC. We haven't really seen a huge amount of movement, but how is Bitcoin valued for ETF purposes? So, the operation of spot Bitcoin ETFs is more complex than it appears. When individuals buy or sell shares of an ETF, like the one offered by BlackRock, Bitcoin is not bought or sold in real time. Instead, the Bitcoin that represents the shares is purchased at least a day earlier. The ETF issuer creates shares with cash, which is then used to buy Bitcoin. This indirect mechanism means that direct transfers of Bitcoin between ETFs do not occur. Therefore, the impact on Bitcoin's price is delayed and does not reflect real-time trading. So we did see a huge amount of volume when it came to these ETFs going live on the first couple of days. And since then, we have seen some delayed positive momentum in the markets. We've seen some delayed volatility in the markets. But what we're seeing here is this is because of the format of how these ETFs all work. So let's take a look at what's going on else in this article. Is there anything else of interest here? How Bitcoin gets into an ETF. We've already discussed this a lot, where we're talking about how you can't transfer from a share to a Bitcoin. You have to use cash in between. We've discussed that a lot here on the stream. So I just wanted to point out that point there, that there is some delayed effects when it comes to these spot Bitcoins ETFs. But over the days and over the weeks, it evens out again. And the positive impacts of a Bitcoin ETF are something that we cannot even put into words right now. Massive companies are already marketing Bitcoin. We're on the homepage of these massive companies that are issuing these ETFs, and we are seeing a huge push by the CEOs of these companies, like Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, pushing Bitcoin massively. Now, what else have we seen in the markets here is we've seen some positivity around Ethereum ETFs as well. We are hearing reports that we could see ETFs for Ethereum as early as May, and this is where we've seen a big bounce when it comes to the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. If we pull that up there, you can see we've seen a massive bounce here following the SEC approving Bitcoin ETFs. Everybody wanted to front run the opportunity for the next thing, which is Ethereum. So hopefully that is around the corner, and with that, hopefully we do see some nice moves for some altcoins as well. Let's take a look at what else is going on here in the markets. So record-breaking $17.5 billion traded in crypto products following Bitcoin ETF debut. So investors further for new US spot Bitcoin ETFs fuels more than $1 billion inflow to cryptocurrency products. So very nice to see these high numbers here. Alternatively, we've got BlackRock's FTX token valuation rebounds to over $1 billion as customers contest bankruptcy plan. So what we were seeing here is FTX wanted to kind of take the token's price on the day that withdrawals stopped and refund their users at that price. But everybody was saying, hold on, our assets are up 100% since that day. So a lot of people were contesting to this news, and now in the news today we are seeing, since the crypto exchange abruptly collapsed following a bank run in November 22, it only briefly traded under $1 billion towards the end of last year, reaching $1.67 billion before declining back to under $850 million. So the recent resurgence can be attributed to the recent uptick observed in the token's value during the last 7 days, up more than 27% of $3.12 as of press time, according to CryptoSlate's data. So we are seeing some bounces here, some changes in the valuations of this company. Really interesting, this one. I think we were all interested at the time. I'd like to see how this plays out in the long term. As I said, it's not something I'm looking at too closely, but it's definitely something to be keeping a close eye on, something to be keeping an eye on. Let's take a look at what's going on on here. Bitcoin did dip below $42,000 and it did liquidate the majority of long positions across exchanges. We discussed that yesterday. We have already discussed this one quickly today. Analysts have predicted 50% chance of spot Ethereum ETFs in May. Now, we have already seen a Bloomberg ETF analyst already place approval odds as high as 70% when it comes to Ethereum ETF. So that would be really positive for the markets. It would be nice to see all of this volatility that's just occurred with Bitcoin to happen to Ethereum as well, because I'm sure that would reflect nicely on some altcoins there. And we all like to invest in altcoins on this stream, I think. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Gensler calls Bitcoin ETFs ironic due to their centralized nature, responding to warrants. The SEC chairman Gary Gensler emphasized respect for legal ruling in approving Bitcoin ETFs, despite calling their centralized nature ironic. Now, we all know Gary Gensler historically did like cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, but of recent years has done a very negative stance when it comes to Bitcoin. Did not want to see a spot Bitcoin ETF go through the doors, but then when it came to the final vote, he did actually vote in favour. So this guy seems to not really know what he wants here. The SEC have rejected spot Bitcoin ETFs in the past, but now they've been accepted. He's saying, look, we do not really endorse these assets. Here we go. We do not endorse these assets, but Bitcoin is being sold on unregistered exchanges. So if these issuers can produce these products that are a safer investment option for investors, then we should launch them into the market. So that's kind of how we announced that we were getting these ETFs accepted. And all we needed was the ETFs accepted. How Gary Gensler announced it and what his opinions weren't really too important. But he's now saying, look, it's pretty ironic that this centralized nature that comes with ETFs is happening for Bitcoin, because one of Bitcoin's main selling points is that it's decentralized. And I do understand this kind of standpoint. We have seen a lot of people in cryptocurrency saying, look, ETFs aren't the best route for Bitcoin, but I think they were coming sooner or later. I think if you want the industry to grow, something like this is bound to happen. Institutions weren't going to let this get even bigger without wanting to get a piece of the pie. So this is just part of the process of becoming a globally known asset. Let's take a look quickly at what's going on in the markets here. I want to do some more Bitcoin analysis, and then I need to shut off today's stream because I am in a rush for a meeting. So I've got to be very quick here. But what you can see is Bitcoin is about to touch that $43,000 level. We did just come very close to it in the last hour or so. When it comes to the hourly chart, we're in an uptrend here, but we are seeing a little bit of a pullback. We'll see how this plays out in the 5-minute chart. I mean, if we zoom out here, it really doesn't look that bad. It's pretty bullish. It's an uptrend there on the smaller time frames. So the rest of the day could be pretty nice, but I want to keep a close eye on that. It may reverse very quickly. We do have that strong level of support below it though, between $41,300 and $42,000. So I am keeping a look at that range. If we come back down to it again, I will be reanalyzing and seeing if it is a buy the dip opportunity or if that level is going to kind of collapse. But we'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm going to go through and read this live chat now and see what you've all been talking about. But that's all for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please don't forget to tune back in tomorrow at 11 a.m. and I will see you all